Welcome to the 700 Club. For 10 hours, members of Congress grilled an FBI agent over accusations of political bias. That agent, Peter Strzok, sent derogatory text messages about Donald Trump during the 2016 presidential race.
Strzok played key roles in the investigations of both Hillary Clinton's email server and the Trump campaign's ties to the Russians. Republicans are convinced his behavior tainted those investigations. Jennifer Wishon has more from Washington.
Peter Strzok began his testimony on offense.
I strongly believe today's hearing is just another victory notch in Putin's belt.
The senior FBI agent played major roles in investigations of both Hillary Clinton's private email server and suspected collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. At the center of suspicion surrounding him, a series of text messages between him and his then lover, FBI attorney Lisa Page.
On August 26, 2016, you texted Ms. Page, quote, "Just went to a Southern Virginia Walmart. I could smell the Trump support." And smell is in capital letters, all capital letters. What does Trump support smell like, Mr. Strzok?
Sir, that's an expression of speech. I clearly wasn't smelling one thing or the other.
Strzok told the joint hearing of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees that he separated his political opinions from his investigations. At one point, he refused to answer questions, citing a directive by FBI attorneys, leading the chairman to threaten him with contempt of Congress
and potential criminal liability.
Point of
order. Do you understand that?
During the 10-hour hearing, Democrats staunchly supported Strzok.
If I could give you a Purple Heart, I would.
Republicans peppered him with questions, showing outrage that's been building for months.
I don't appreciate having an FBI agent with an unprecedented level of animus working on two major investigations during 2016.
Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert even questioned Strzok's character.
And I've talked to FBI agents around the country. You've embarrassed them. You've embarrassed yourself. And I can't help but wonder when I see you looking there with a little smirk, how many times did you look so innocent into your wife's eye and lie to her about Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, this is outrageous.
You need your medication.
Today, Lisa Page will be questioned by members of Congress in a closed-door session, having had the benefit of watching Strzok's testimony Thursday. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Well, there was a lot of political theater for 10 hours and political theater on both sides. But for me, here's the bottom line. The bottom line is the FBI definitely got involved in the presidential race. And you look back at that race and you wonder, have we reverted back to the Praetorian Guard? That was the group that was charged with protecting the Republic of Rome and protecting the emperor. And before long, they became the emperor maker. And is that what we're dealing with here now? The FBI gets to choose who gets to be in the office of president. And if they don't like a particular president, they get the ability to take that president out. This is a first in American history. And it's a shame to see the FBI involved in politics in any way, or agents expressing any kind of political opinion. They can do so privately, but to have their own opinion, they're still citizens, they still get to vote. But as they execute their job, there should be no politics involved at all. Well, in other news, Palestinian Prime Minister Mahmoud Abbas says his government will continue to reward terrorists and their families for attacks on Israel. This defiance comes after more countries moved to withhold aid to the Palestinian Authority because of the policy called pay to slay. Well, as Chris Mitchell reports, Palestinians say this financial pressure now amounts to an act of war.
The controversial policy provides money to convicted Palestinian terrorists and their families for attacking Israelis. The payments coming from this fund add up to more than $330 million each year. Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop objected to the policy, saying, "I am concerned that in providing funds for this aspect of the PA's operations, there is an opportunity for it to use its own budget to fund activities that Australia would never support." The PA describes the move as a declaration of war.
Australia now is just doing the bidding of the U.S., unfortunately, and Julie Bishop's statement is extremely insulting, and it shows the utmost ignorance of the realities of Palestinians living under a cruel and brutal and illegal Israeli occupation.
Australia's decision follows America's lead in passing the Taylor Force Act that also withholds aid until the PA ends the terror payments. Congress named the law after Taylor Force, a U.S. citizen killed in a 2016 terror attack in Israel. Meanwhile, Israel's parliament debated its own legislation to stop payments to the Palestinian Authority.
To this Palestinian enterprise that is called the Palestinian Authority, Mr. Chairman, it's very easy to get accepted. The only thing you have to do is to call Israelis to get arrested or killed, and you get a job.
Scott Taylor's father, Stuart, sat in on the debate.
We are honored to have you here with us for the event to pass this bill, and hopefully we shall pass it the second and the third call.
And pass it they did. Another multi-million-dollar penalty against the Palestinian Authority for encouraging and rewarding terrorism. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, it's up to, on the Taylor Force Act, it's up to the State Department to make a determination, are the payments being used to fund terrorism? And under what sort of circumstances do we now withhold that funding? I certainly applaud what Australia is doing. They're saying on a moral basis, we can't fund this anymore. We can't be providing funds to the Palestinian Authority for them to pay for actions that we as Australians think are abhorrent. These are acts of terror. Well, we asked the State Department when it will stop sending funds to the Palestinian Authority in compliance with the Taylor Force Act, and here's what we got back. An official told CBN News the department is now studying how the law affects its ability to provide assistance to Gaza and the West Bank. And here's one of the problems with the Taylor Force Act, and members of Congress voiced it when it was being passed, that if you give this to the State Department, you've got to understand there's a whole division of the State Department that is responsible for sending funds to the Palestinian Authority. Their jobs depend on that funding. And when you get that kind of self-interest involved, can you imagine how long this study is going to take? The State Department has been aware of this kind of payment for decades. This isn't something new. The Palestinian Authority just didn't start funding terrorism and paying terrorists a monthly wage. This has been going on for some time. And at the same time, all of this has been going on, you and I have been funding that Palestinian Authority to the tune of billions of dollars. So here's what we need to do. We need to lobby the State Department. And you can make your voice heard by contacting them directly. Here's their number, 202-647-6575, and tell them you, as an American citizen, you want to stop funding the Palestinian Authority under the Taylor Force Act. You can also send them an email or regular mail. You can find out how on our website, cbnnews.com.